Please correct me. Just start this, guys, and then we're live on YouTube and Zoom. Dun, dun, dun. Right, we're now live across the world, plus Zoom, so we're filling up nicely. So wherever you are, welcome. My name's Dave Davis, CTO at DVS, one of the best distributors you'll ever have pleasure dealing with. And I'm joined today by James Cox and Tony Lannon. Tony works for the world-renowned Veracity. Great product set, whether it's storage or transmission products, or indeed the NXwitness partnered with their solution. And this is something that hopefully we'll introduce to you today. You'll see something you really like and then generate the questions that you want to come to us and ask after the webinar. The NXwitness, so James is joining us from NXwitness. So big thank you to both of you for joining me today. Hopefully the people that are watching are really going to enjoy or take something from this, and again, raise the questions that we really want those people to start engaging with us. The NXwitness VMS platform is quite interesting. It's something that you really need to look at to appreciate how powerful it is, how adaptable and how cost effective and deployable this system can actually be. I'd say it's not like a traditional VMS, and somebody can correct me if they want. I actually really like the product, and again, I think it's a world leading product in my opinion. A very bold statement, but I'm going to hang my hat on that. And again, pair it up with Tony's solutions and DVS in the middle, you've got a triangle that you can't beat there, in my opinion. So blow my own trumpet. But what we'll do is move over. I think Tony's going to give us a brief PDF, PowerPoint or death by PowerPoint presentation of the solution. What I would say for those of you that have joined in, they've got any outstanding questions, if they're not answered during the webinar, then please use webinar@dvs.co.uk, where one of us will get back to you, or I can put you in contact with a relevant person. And again, please ask any questions and I'll try to chat moderate as we go through, or we'll ask them at the end. So big thank you. I'm going to hand over to you now, Tony, in your magical kingdom of smoke, and we'll watch that presentation that you've just put together glamorously for us.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for that, Dave, as well.
No problem.
I'm Tony Lannon. I'm from Veracity. I'm the technical sales manager. Obviously joined with Dave and James Cox from Network Optics. I'm not going to bore you to death. You might be pleased to know on this presentation, take me probably 10 minutes to run through to give you a topology of what we're doing. So for those of you not aware of our product, Cold Store, we've just embedded the Network Optics server software into the machine. It's an 8-bay unit, 128 terabytes storage. So it's got the server built into this. You might be pleased to know, take up to 100 cameras per server. Licenses, you can buy them in ones, you can buy them in thousands, or any derivatives that you can think of to put this on there. But more importantly for you guys, there's a 5-year warranty on this machine, on the unit and on the hard drives as well. That's how confident we are that this machine does what it says on the tin. And we're just about to launch into DVS, that we're going to extend this warranty for a further 2 years. And further details of that will follow, obviously, from DVS in due course. So just to give you an idea of how this is all put together, there's 4 parts to this: NX Cloud, NX Desktop, NX Mobile, NX Server. That's the system pretty much broken down. So I'm going to take you through a couple of slides to show you how this is. Now, the interesting thing about this software, the NXwitness software, it works with Linux, it works with Windows, and it works with Mac. And you can have a mixture of on the site, and we all know we've all suffered over the years at IT manager.
That's really powerful in itself. I'm going to jump in there, Tony, and say sorry to interrupt you, but the amount of times that we get that request of like cross-platform support is that in itself is a really powerful thing to have. And I think a lot of people who are watching it will be pleased to know that that cross-platform support is there. Really powerful.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. So this is what it looks like. You've got all the usual things that you would expect: real-time monitoring, developer tools, browser-based, health, all this sort of thing. The server itself, I'll take 100 cameras a server. As I said before, 100 servers in a system. That's 10,000 cameras in case you want me to do the maths.
Wow.
And you can have up to 1,000 clients on this per system. So this is a global thing. This is if you've got, sites in the UK, if you've got sites in Europe, in the States, in Asia, you can bring all these together as one system. I'll talk about that in a second. So it's a hive architecture. This is quite unique. This is one of the greatest things I have to say about this piece of software. Best thing I've seen for all 20 years, if I'm quite honest with you. It's a hive architecture, which means everything you've got on your systems, all of your servers will talk to each other in real time, all of the time. If I've got licenses on my system, they get copied into your system. I get a copy of yours and so on. So therefore, we can actually create a failover system. So if the server fails, it will automatically move and record to the next system without any setup from yourselves. And I'm sure James is going to pick up on that shortly. So messages there is failover is free, storage is a cost center. As I say, this is more of a duplication of what I've just said. I have a Aristotle philosophy, as Dave is probably smiling now, as I can see him. I tell him this every time I see his team, is tell them what you just told them and tell them again. So 1,000 users, 100 cameras per server, 10,000 cameras in the system. And that can be globally as well, don't forget. So the storage management, how does this work with ourselves? So we've got the NX client software, the VMS software. We connect to that with a 100% integration into our system with this via an SDK, not an API or anything like that. So it's fully integrated, so you won't get any problems down the line. From a model point of view, we have several models in this. The 2U is the integrated model. As you can see, we have 3Us, we have 3U Pros, we have Colossus. Colossus is a 45 bay machine, which runs off 60 watts of power, believe it or not, so quite a powerful piece of kit. In the next 3 weeks, all of those you see on the screen now will have an integrated NXwitness server built into them, apart from the compact at the top. But you can use a compact with a separate 1U server or a nuke. If you've got a small site, that will work perfectly. Bearing in mind that the compact is 2.5-inch drives, so maximum drive size there is 5 terabytes, obviously per disk on that. The rest of them, as you can see, we're now with 16 terabyte drives, 128 terabytes for the machine that's available right now through DVS, 240 terabytes for the 3U and the 3U Pro, and 720 terabytes if it's required for the Colossus. Now, a lot of people said to me, oh, where does that fit? That fits a great deal, but they're not in food production plants where they want to keep this storage for, in some instances, 3 years, 5 years,
yeah, exactly,
90 days, 120 days.
There's a lot of applications. So again, to jump in there and to back you up, we get requested a lot for that 3 to 5 year retention for health and safety, whether it's a trampoline park, abattoir, food production, whatever that is for the, for the traceability. And the cold store really comes into itself. Your storage is world leading, the way it uses minimum power with massive ability to store mass data, paired up with a differentiator VMS like NXwitness, and you're onto a win-win solution there. So, and again, I know I jumped in there, but
it's all right, Dave. No, you carry on.
Storage retention is what sells it to most people, and that very low power draw and that reliability that you've built into the cold store is phenomenal.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Good interjection, Dave. I have to say, it's always good to be backed up. What we think and what we see is actually the same through through you as a distributor. So we have a piece of software for this as well. To manage the cold stores. And again, you can do one site, you can do one cold store, or you can do 200 cold stores if you wish, all around the world, all from this one piece of software that let you hot swap disks. You can make them writable, make them read-only, you reboot the machines, update the firmware, set your network up. I'm not going to read through that list. I'll make this slide deck available to anybody who wants it after this via Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
But that's a free piece of software, ships with the cold store. Very handy tool, I have to say. So onto the desktop client, again, Linux, Windows, and Mac. It's got everything in there you'd expect and a lot more besides. It's a self setup software in reality. It finds all the cameras, adds them all on the list. All you've got to do is add your username and your password into there. I'll let James tell you about what's available on this. He's going to give you a live demonstration in a second.
I think just to add in there, I think when I first met James at the beginning, I think one of the challenges was how this was claimed as one of the fastest deployed VMSs you could come across, and it definitely was. And I don't think I've come across one this fast, since, because it really is, as you said, sort of almost plug and play and click, 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 and it's done. Very intuitive to use, very fast, very slick. The UI is fantastic. So kudos to James on that, I guess. Although he probably didn't.
Indeed.
I built it myself.
So just an overview there, just to remember, just a reminder about the client. 64, you can have 64 cameras on a single layout. It's a very low processor piece of software. It's not very hungry at all, so you can get away with an i5 in this, and you can get the specs off this again via Dave Davis and DBS to what your requirements are. But it is quite low. You'll be quite pleased about that. Keep your costs down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bit of a bigger picture, so you can see how it looks, what the field. You can have maps in there, you can have websites on there. People always say to me, why you always mention websites? So I deal with quite a lot of police forces, and a lot of police forces, believe it or not, will have a live feed in the control room from news feeds, so they can see what's happening around the country before they get to hear about it. So it's quite an important little piece.
Yeah, I like that little add-on as well.
So the interesting thing about the system is you get to sign up to Network Optics' cloud solution. It's not a storage solution. It's not a VSAS or any of that nature. But what it does give you is the use. So you can log in. You can put all your systems into this cloud. And again, you could have 10 systems around the world. They'll all appear in that cloud solution. And you can, by one click of a button, you can merge all of those sites together, which means you can look after all the sites, you can have the views that you want. You can even go as far as having all your users in one place. This system has built in what's called LDAP. I'll let James explain what LDAP is in a second. But you'll find a lot of IT managers will be using LDAP right now for all their users in all their office environments and systems, whether that be small office or corporate. So it lets you interject and bring all of these users in from your existing systems on your IT network to save you deploying them, and you get that facility as well in the cloud solution. So what does it look like? You can have as many as you want. You can have one, you can have two, they can all be on the same site. They can be on 20 sites, and again, they can be at any part of the globe. So you can bring these together. There's that Hive architecture we spoke about earlier. And part of the Hive architecture means I've got failover on my site. I've got it for free and not bought it. Customer, more importantly, gets the failover. If anything happens, you generally find, I think there's a 60-second pulse on this, James, if I'm not mistaken, that checks all the time, are you there, as you'd expect. And if it's not there, it moves, it's got all the information off your system. You're not there anymore, so it'll start recording. And again, once the system comes back on, it'll bring it back again, which is quite an interesting piece. If you lose a server, you can actually rebuild from one of the other servers because it has all your information. I know you set up in the first place. So this is as slick as it gets for me. I've not seen anything like this.
Very easy.
Many years. So that was the cloud. Also in there we have mobile devices as well. Free software. Again, this is available Android, iOS. Download it. I think in the next iteration, which James might touch on, 4.1, there's going to be push notifications. You can already do smart search on this. Speed of this coming off Coldstore, by the way, even over a mobile, I have to say, is quite phenomenal. And it's really nice. So works with LTE, 4G, 3G, Wi-Fi. Yes, it works with 5G. Just not updated the sliders yet. Full feature list, not going to go through these, just to let you know it is quite extensive, and there's a lot more than that as well. But we'll share this with you, as I say, later on. Just to reiterate, Coldstore, back to Aristotle, Dave.
Yep.
5-year guarantee on the hard drive and the machine, 100 cameras a server. Bear in mind, we're selling 100 cameras a server. This is all down to the size of your cameras. Putting 8K cameras on, you're not going to get as many cameras on this machine, obviously, but the same as everybody else. But you have got the added bonus that you can just strap more Coldstores in the back and record as much as you wish, so where the Colossus is concerned. So tech spec, that's available on the web or from any of your DVS account managers as well. If you've got any questions on this, fire them to them, fire them to us. Either way, we're going to, you'll get the answers that you need. I'll not do any questions now. I'm going to pass this straight to James.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Tony. I think everyone got an insightful look into what we can sort of provide as a partnership. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for that, Tony. Good roundup on the tech specs on the kind of more technical side of NX. So what I'll do now, assuming you can all see my screen,
You can.
I'll give you an actual live demo. So like a few things that Tony touched on, the stuff that we've really focused on is the usability of the system. You know, making sure that it's intuitive straight away. You can understand how to use it, and you can set a system up like a 100 camera system. You can have installed in less than 5 minutes. So it is that kind of speed and ease of use. And then we've also focused on kind of the actual speed of transmission. So right now I'm connected to my office, which is in the US, obviously streaming to England, and then we can see how fast we can transmit video. So it's pretty quick, considering that's all the way from California. We've really worked on that kind of side of things as well. So people aren't sat there waiting for video to load. There's a few fun techniques that we use to do that. We take 2 streams from every camera. What that allows us to do is obviously utilize the substream when a camera drops frames. So it's not a blanket rule. It's not like a lot of other systems where they say if you're looking for more than 1 camera, you have to see low streams. It's done on, it will try and give you as much high resolution as possible until a camera drops a frame or loses a packet. Then that one camera will go down to low res. So if we check out the information on these ones here, we can see we pretty much all drop down to low res because obviously I'm streaming. But if I double click, it's probably a bad one to double click, but it flicked to high res. I'll pick a better one than that. So you can see it will jump to the high resolution stream. And then also it's intelligent enough to know, for instance, if one of these videos, for instance, if I make this one a lot larger, this one will stay, will try and stay in high res and knock everything else down to low res because it knows that that video is bigger than the rest. So that should be in high res. The others need to be in low res. So that's how we kind of work on like transporting that video a lot faster because you don't need high resolution all the time. You only need it when videos are large or you're zooming. If you're looking at 64 videos on screen, there's no need to see high res at that point. It's just a waste of bandwidth. So yeah, we focus on the speed of it. Also, where we're talking about the playback and the intuitiveness. So right now we're in live view. You can see how easy that was to move around cameras. Just drag and drop in. We can move them around. We're not stuck to our predefined grids like you would be in a lot of other systems. We can make completely customized interfaces. Excuse me. And at the bottom, we always have a timeline. So we have a concept of what we call the single UI. It's a single place to do everything. It's not like a lot of other systems where you have a live view, then you have to go to a whole different section of the software to go to playback. And then there's a whole other section of the software for settings. We try to do everything from inside of this interface. So you can see we have our timeline at the bottom. If I just click, all my video jumps back and goes back into the time I clicked. If I'm looking for a specific date or time, I can zoom in on this timeline. I can get this to go all the way down frame by frame if I'm looking for something specific. I can pop up thumbnails to see if I'm looking for something, or if I want a date and time, I've got my calendar set, so I can say, let's go to the 6th at 9 AM. Now it's at 9 AM on the 6th, so I can hit 9:20, and there you go. It's all single clicks. You can see how fast it grabbed the footage as well. It's the idea is that you don't put, like in the old systems, you had to like put in the start time and end time. This is all like I clicked 3 times to basically get to where I want to do. And it's all using web-based icons. So like the calendar icon, everybody knows what the calendar icon looks like. So it's intuitive to figure out what you're doing.
Familiarity with it, isn't there?
Exactly right. If rather than just thinking, oh no, because this looks cool, we're just like, what does the web use? Like, let's try and like keep that kind of standard so people know what they're doing. So in terms of more advanced playback and searching as well, I'll just close a couple of these cameras so we can see a little bit easier. We've got this side view camera. We can do a smart motion search on this. So if you're looking, for instance, you only want to see any time cars came down this side road. In a traditional system, you just use a motion search, but because you've got the freeway in the background, obviously there's a lot of motion on here. So you can't do that. So we can use our smart motion, draw a grid here, and you'll see all the red zones will populate pretty fast. There you go. So all these zones is where there was motion just in that box. And I just did that search for 5 months of data in like 10 seconds coming from the States. Wow. And now you can see it's actually jumping over the zones and only going to video where there was an alert inside of that box. So I don't even have to touch it now. It's just skipping over video where there was no motion. And then I've got my thumbnail breakdown if I'm looking for a specific date or time as well. If I'm looking for a specific car, for instance, I can go through here to see what I was looking for. Or again, the calendar shows me as well. So you can see Friday, there was actually no cars have driven down there. On the 6th, there was, and I can just jump it through, and then you can see those red zones and just click through. So really handy application for a lot of different things. Obviously, this is just one that I have to hand, but obviously in other environments, you can, if someone's stolen a laptop, you can just draw the zone where the laptop was and see who went near that place over the 24-hour period, for instance. Just it's about speeding things up, so you're not sitting there looking through hours and hours of footage trying to find an event or an occurrence like that. Once you've found an event, export as well, pretty simple. Once you've found the event you're looking for, just click and hold and drag, and you highlight the timeline. We then just right click that, and I can just hit export video.
Very cool.
Yeah, pretty smooth, pretty easy. We've got all your kind of standard things. You know, you can add your timestamps, your watermarks as well for legal purposes. We could also do a rapid review. So this is like good for factories and construction and things. We can actually take a 24-hour period and condense it like a time lapse to a 60-second video if we want to. It does all the calculations for you. It speeds up the export as well because it's transcoding on the server side, so it speeds up the export a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. On top of that, we can do a multi-video. This is if you've got 4 or 5 different videos and you want to compress them all down into a .exe file. You can then give that to someone. They can open it up as like an app version, still do all your smart searching, everything, and investigation with the 5 videos. That can be password protected for legal purposes. So if it goes to the wrong person, they still can't access the video. So lots of different export options. We have another export option, which is kind of for building a case file effectively, or sharing information. Camera no data. So if we've got 3 cameras here and I'm trying to explain something to someone of what occurred, it's quite difficult to share that information sometimes. It usually ends up with a lot of video being put on a USB key, getting sent to someone in a very confusing email that maybe I understand, but the person who receives it definitely won't understand. Like go to camera 1 at this time, look at this guy, now go to camera 2. So what we can do is we have a built-in sort of screen record function. So it records your screen, your mouse, and your voice. So now I can say like, okay, down here is this is where the laptop was before it got stolen. Then I can jump around, create kind of like a case file, move to cameras. This is the car they drove off in, whatever you may be doing. Kind of put all your cameras together, and you can save that down as a single AVI file. And it's only a couple of megabytes, which means you can just attach it to an email, which means when you're trying to explain this to someone now, you just upload that to an email and say, please see attached. And wow. You've got a narrative of exactly what happened. The person goes, oh yeah, cool, I see what happened. Can you please export the official video for legal purposes? Obviously, this won't hold up in a court of law. You need the proper export for that. But really handy for like explaining what happened and getting that information to other people quickly and easily, basically.
That's really powerful, really slick. In fact, I know people may correct me here, but I've not seen that function within another VMS, so it's really, really nice function.
Yeah, no, we find it really handy. Consultants especially like that, just because it's like that sharing of information is quite difficult with the size of files with video systems, obviously. So a few other functions that we've worked on, kind of the more usability side of things. Opening up these fisheyes by accident. So one of the things about video, right, is that it's often used for recall and less for prevention, just because a lot of video cameras are hard to monitor. Mm-hmm. So there's a few little tools that we've included. We just changed my aspect ratio to the screen. So we have our crop windows, which allow you to bring higher resolution cameras, so break them out into multiple bad camera to choose. Apparently it's a funky one. So we can bring them out into multiple different zones, zoomed in. One of the nice things about this feature, obviously we can do as many of these on a single camera as we want. So if we're covering large areas from far away, we can actually zoom those in. But also it's a nice magnifying glass into the system. So if you're like monitoring, we use these in stadiums, for instance. In a stadium, if you've got a lot of cameras around, you get some hustle and bustle on one camera, you double click it to kind of see more detail. The problem is now I've lost live view of all my other cameras, which isn't a great solution. So what we can do with this, it actually drags across all my cameras as well. So it becomes a very smooth and slick magnifying glass, basically, for the entire system. And now I can say, okay, what's going on down here? But I can keep an overview of my other cameras at the same time. So if you're a monitoring security guard and you're actually sitting there like actively trying to look for issues or problems, then it's a lot more functional because you're trying to keep that live view as much as possible. And as you can see as well, so for instance, this camera's dropped to low res, this kitchen camera. When I drag this over, it flicks straight to high res because it knows it's being zoomed in on, and the one that we were previously on has dropped back down to low res. So again, that intelligence of just delivering that video for the speed is something we've really worked on. Another feature that we have as well is our kind of side by side. So if I bring out, I can make a duplicate of this camera pretty easy. It brings out the same camera. I can unsync my view, and then I can put one of them into playback. So bad cameras to do it on because not much has changed in our office in the last couple of months because it's all on, everyone's on home office. But you can see this one's in the timestamp in the bottom corner, and then this one's in live with the timestamp. So what we can do is, if for instance, a fight's broken out, you can keep monitoring what's happening with the fight while going back and maybe reviewing to see who the person that started the fight was, who you should be going to like send people to. Whereas in a lot of other systems, you go into playback, you find out who the person was that started the fight, you go back to live, and he's gone. There's nothing you can do. So again, it's just about having that like that single UI thing, like we were saying. You can do investigation and live monitoring in the same interface at the same time. So pretty powerful in that sense as well. For one of my favorite features is our fisheye dewarping. So a lot of cameras, as people know probably, is we obviously take the fisheye dewarped from the camera in most systems. You take 4 streams all dewarped. We don't do that. We take the normal standard high res, low res stream, and we do our same crop box that we did before, but it dewarps on the fly, and someone has turned dewarping off on that camera, which is always the fun of having an open demo system. I'll grab another one. So if I grab that same box we had before, you can see how it dewarps it on the fly, flips it out. We can do as many of these zones as we want, and it works with any camera. Really, really smooth. We can export these dewarped images, obviously, for when we're trying to export them for the police and things, so they don't just get stuck with this top one. In playback, in live, works both. One of the nice things is, obviously, in some fisheye cameras, the event might happen to occur right on the overlap of where 2 zones meet, so you kind of get half on one and half on another. With ours, when we go into playback, if I jump into playback, I can still just move my zone, so like there's half and half, and move it to capture both of them, messing with the printer. So it's a lot more adaptable in that sense. And then we can also bring out and make it a full digital PTZ camera to move it around, or we can also flick it into a full 360 of the entire room. So you've still got that kind of advantage of fisheye in terms of everything being in one, but it's broken out. So yeah, a lot you can do with fisheyes on these, and with the Hikvision fisheyes as well. They work really nicely, and the 2-way audio that's on the Hikvision audio system works with just this little mic here. You just hold that down and it comes out. The camera side for the fisheyes, assuming they still have that speaker function in them. So yeah, really, really nicely, nice feature there. So a couple of other features, like we were saying, we've got a few other things we can bring in. So server monitoring, so it works really nicely with the consoles, the NX2U. We can actually monitor the system process from inside of our window. We can also bring in, like we were saying, the web interface. This is really nice for just being adaptable for people's requirements. We did a prison in in Australia, I believe, where they wanted to see like the weather, because they want to know if the bad weather's coming. A lot of people may rush in from outside. So they basically have like a weather monitoring app inside of the security system, and so they know what's going to kind of be coming their way. So yeah, pretty customizable in terms of that. The settings, like I said, also all done from inside of this interface. I'll just give you a quick example. Tony wanted me to touch on the LDAP, so I'll just show you real quick. So like for instance, system admin, it's all done in a pop-up window. We've still got all our live cameras running in the background. I can jump to our user section. So here's where you would add your LDAP system. Like Tony said, LDAP's really handy because it works with Active Directory. Active Directory is pretty much standard for most system admins across the world for user management. And then LDAP's the communication protocol with that. So basically, every time you add a user to the LDAP to the Active Directory system, it will automatically add it to our system, and it creates that kind of user sharing system that a lot of people like. And then LDAP, because it's LDAP as well, it also works with like the Linux versions like pre-Redis and other databases like that. So yeah, like I said, all the settings done from here. Another really handy tool that we have that a lot of other systems you might not see is we have a full storage analysis tool. This shows you every camera on the system, and it will show you all the stories that it's taking, assuming it's, I think I might have just lost my connection to the States by the looks of it. So this will, I'll explain it, but it basically shows you all the stories that every camera takes, its average bit rate. And you can forecast, right? So if you have those requirements, like we were talking earlier, for food and hygiene and things like that, when they say, yeah, we have to have 6 months, a lot of the time you just have to wait until 6 months pass to see if you're actually going to get it, because it's kind of a guesstimate, right? Whereas what we can do is we can leave it for a week. We can take that week and say, based on that 1 week, forecast my storage. And it will say, okay, with that 1 week and the storage you have, you're going to get 5 months and 2 weeks. And then using this additional storage button at the bottom, we can say, all right, how much extra storage do I need to add to get me to my 6 months? So it's a lot more accurate in kind of calculating the amount of storage that you need. Not sure why. Oh, it's just that one server's having issues. So you can see here on because we've got our Hive system, our Taiwan office is tied into this as well. So you can see the space each camera takes, the calendar days they currently have, and the bit rates. So for instance, I can see this Ericon camera is taking a lot more than others. So I might want to actually go to its settings and change its recording settings, etc. So you can see it's all smooth, clicks, done with pop-up windows. It's easy. And then full your forecast here, you can see I got 12 days based on my system. If I add terabyte 16, so if I want to get to 30 days, I know I need an extra 5 terabytes. It's a pretty handy tool, especially like when we were talking longer storage terms, because you don't want to get kind of blindsided when you are 6 months down the line and someone says, oh yeah, I need that data from 6 months ago. Oh, shit, we went 5 months. Sorry, you said no swearing.
Don't worry. I'm sure our audience are, fine with that.
Yeah. So yeah, very handy tool. So as Tony mentioned, the Hive system, just to go into it in a bit more detail, yeah, it works on database replication. So if you've got multiple sites, basically, if you add a user to site 1, even though if they've only got access to site 1, they'll still be stored on site 2, site 3, site 4, site 5. That way, if site 1 ever loses its database, it can be rebuilt the other sites. And also, if you use the IP address of site 5 to connect to the system, it can know that, yes, you are allowed onto the system, but you're only allowed access to site 1. So it's really a much bigger advantage over the central management server system. It gives you all the advantages of a central management server, but without a single point of failure.
Without the safety, yeah, with the safety.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'll do, I'll show you the last thing I'll show you is just some of our more advanced stuff in terms of what we're doing with AI now, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to just jump off this system and just jump into a system that we used when we had a show in Spain a little while ago. So what we've got now is this is integrated with one of our facial recognition partners. We've built a framework that we call the Meta framework. The idea is it's for tighter integration with with video, with AI companies, but to the point where you don't feel like it's two separate systems. An end user needs to feel like a single system for that ease of use again. So this is a facial recognition company we're partnering with out Netherlands. And you can see here, so it's brought in the person's face, it's tagged it inside of our system, it's given in his age, his gender, his emotion. And then if you want to enroll that person, I can right click it, create person. I could say, like, for instance, let's say he was a vandal. I could put in there vandal. And then I could say anytime someone with the tag vandal comes onto my site, I want to automatically launch like an alert. I want to send a push notification so I can go get that person and kind of, you know, do whatever my process may be. You can also do it for searching. So if I want to see, for instance, Oscar from my team was at the site, show with me, it automatically brings up all the pictures of him. Again, you can see how fast and smooth that runs. We can also do generic searching. So if we're looking for, I don't know, a female that was happy, and let's say I only want to see when they were over this side of the screen inside of this box, now it automatically grabs me that reference point right there really quickly. So it's, again, for searching. And the nice thing is we're currently working with Hikvision at the moment with their facial recognition and AI companies and getting them all integrated into this meta database as well.
Okay.
Or into this meta architecture. So all of their AI functions will all be built in this way as well when we finish the integration.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's the main stuff I want to show you guys, kind of give you that core and understanding of our system and kind of where we're going. So I appreciate everyone's time, and thanks, Dave, for inviting us.
And absolutely, I think that, you know, the people watching, either whether it's YouTube live now, joined on the webinar, or in the future, I think if they don't learn anything, I'd be very, very surprised. And I think it's going to raise a lot of potential questions. Again, webinar.dvs.co.uk, and we can put you in touch with Tony and his team, or James and his team if you're not in the UK. And I think, you know, for those people, it is going to raise questions that, you know, maybe there is another VMS out there that they can be a differentiator with and really sort of bring this to market and run away with it. I think it's a fantastic VMS, which is one reason that we chose to partner with you guys in the first place. You know, groundbreaking software and hardware right the way through. And it really is something that we hope will do really well. And we're starting to see that traction already. So yeah, very exciting. And again, all the new functions you put in there now, like you said, the AI stuff there is just going to add to what you guys can deliver to the marketplace. So yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, no, the partnership's been good so far.
It has, yeah.
A lot left to do.
When we start getting people back to work, you know, the interest will start to be there. So I think from my side, and I know from Tony's side, we've delivered what we wanted to deliver to you guys. So hopefully you've got something from it. And I think that remains all from us, so we can sort of shoot off and I can eat my KFCs. Yeah, other than that, thanks for joining us wherever you are. Stay safe, stay tuned, stay subscribed. Any questions, webinar.dvs.co.uk, and we'll see you for a webinar very, very soon. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Nice.
Thank you.
Bye, 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 bye.